Hello, and welcome to Comic Book Day. I'm Joe, and like always, I'm showing you all the comics that I bought this week, and talking about comics, talking about the art and the stories, and sometimes kind of what's going on, I don't know, behind the scenes. I don't know much about really what's going on at the companies, but sometimes I find shit out. This is Batman number 28. This is, I don't know, what part was this? I think it was part 3. Shoot. Yeah, part 3 of the War of Jokes and Riddles. And yeah, this is a really good issue. It has really great art in it. It kind of talks about, I don't know, it kind of talked about a little bit of a ridiculous thing where Deathstroke and Deadshot were fighting each other. They're both, one of them's working for, I think Deathstroke is on the Riddler and Deadshot is working for Joker. So they got into a fight with each other and they fought like all over Gotham. They said it was like this 5-day long fight. Like non-stop is what they make it seem like too. And I don't like where it seems like they fight for 5 days non-stop and just no one did it. I mean, Batman finally at the end like breaks down and beats up Deadshot really bad. And Deathstroke too, but Deadshot is like worse. So I don't know. That part seemed a little ridiculous that it took like 5 days of non-stop fighting. But maybe I just kind of thought it was that way. But otherwise, this was pretty good. It kind of was cool because this story takes place kind of like, I think it's supposed to be right after like the first year of Bruce Wayne being Batman. So they have Catwoman in this one pop up, and she's in like a really old style costume, kind of off of like I think like it was the late 80s and early 90s. Her kind of purple Catwoman costume. Kind of catsuit, just like tight, when they dropped all the extra capes and stuff, I think the first time. Yeah, if you don't know, Catwoman used to have like a cape kind of, and like a skirt usually most of the time, I think, in old comics, but I guess all female characters did. So yeah, this is a really good issue. It's been good. Sometimes I feel like they kind of don't show the more exciting parts of this. A lot of the story has been Batman kind of telling what different big events happen, and they haven't actually shown a lot of these kind of villain battles that have been going on, through the stories that you hear from Batman or like Commissioner Gordon. A lot of it they haven't really shown so far, but this one did kind of make up for it by having, a big fight, and it really has great artwork. Like I said, the artwork in Batman is really, really good. I don't actually know who is doing the art right now, but this whole part in the beginning was really cool. You've actually had a lot where they kind of parallel and show the two different sides. You've got the Joker's side and the Riddler's side, which of course the Riddler's side is completely organized, and the Joker's side is completely disorganized. And yeah, that's part of why I guess really these two are going against each other. That's what makes them, kind of the perfect Batman villains, I think, to go against one another. And it's funny, the Joker made Commissioner Gordon just show up in his underwear. That's all the planning that he really has behind it. But then you have this part. There's Catwoman's kind of, older inspired costume there. And yeah, I liked how they did that, because it is kind of based off, an older look, and this is supposed to be, an older kind of set story. But you have this part here, where this is the start of the Deadshot and Deathstroke fight, which leads to a pretty awesome page right here that shows, there are multiple different kinds of fights. I really like, this big part of them in the beginning, and then down here at the bottom where they're sniping at each other. And then here's another big, 2 pages of Batman going through and cleaning up after those fights. Which, I think this part actually especially looks really good. I like the look of it. And yeah, this book has been really, really good looking. And yeah, this is definitely really great artist. Probably listed at the back here. Mikkel Nin Janin. I don't know. I don't know how to say it. I'm sorry. But it's really, really great art. I like this shot of Batman, you know, just finally kind of breaking down to right after he's beat Deathstroke and Deadshot completely to pieces. Yeah, this is a really great book, and this has been a really great story. This is Walking Dead number 170. This was a good issue. I mean, I always like Walking Dead a lot, but this is kind of, you know, before any kind of massive, you know, new storyline is starting. But it's titled On the Road, and pretty much all of it is following different characters that are, you know, on the road for different reasons. You have Eugene and Michonne and a little group going out, and they're trying to find these people that Eugene has been talking to over, you know, a radio for a long time now. So they're trying to find them, and they're way farther north than anyone has ever gone before, so they're really going to explore the world some more then. And then you also have Maggie's group going back to the hilltop, needing to, you know, rebuild. And they met up with some people from the, from the kingdom, the new leader of there. And yeah, this one, it was good. It also, at the very end, kind of has a big reveal. Maybe going to reveal who the father of Rosita's baby was, before she got killed. And the baby was never born then. If you don't read the comics and you only watch the show, I really think the comics are a lot better. In this, there's a part where someone, I don't want to give, I guess, too much away, but, you know, Dwight right now is very upset with Rick, and he was saying in this issue where Rick and Negan were really no better than each other, but they followed it up with a really good scene of Rick, you know, showing why Rick is an actual better leader than Negan, even though Rick kind of does whatever it takes, you know, to get everyone safe and, you know, to advance however they need to or whatever. Rick still is a better person than most anyone else in the apocalypse, and I feel like the TV show doesn't really have enough redemptive stuff for Rick, because I think that Rick is a really, you know, good man. He's a good leader, but in the show he's kind of a bigger asshole than he really is in the comics at all. So maybe sometime they'll find a way to kind of redeem Rick a little more. I mean, they're doing all-out war in the show right now, and in the comics that was a big moment for Rick. This is Spider-Man number 19. It's kind of funny. I was asked by the guy at the comic book store this week, you know, what I thought of Spider-Man, and the first thing really that I could think of was that they hadn't really done much to establish bigger villains for Spider-Man at all. They really have just been going through, and for a long time, I don't know, at least since like the very start of this comic, so 19 issues, he's just been kind of butting heads with Black Cat and Hammerhead. No pun intended. But I like it still, you know, a lot. Even though they aren't expanding any villains, it's kind of like a really slow burn comic. And it deals a lot with Miles' life, you know, Miles Morales' life, more than, you know, a lot of other comics deal with superheroes' life. And, you know, I like seeing that, especially with Spider-Man comics. That was always one of my favorite part of, you know, the really old Stan Lee comics. And I really loved the, you know, original Ultimate Spider-Man comics. But, so yeah, I like where this is kind of going. I think they're going to set up a new hero, or a new, you know, hero persona, kind of, for Miles to become. They, at least in this issue, they dropped the idea of maybe he should stop being Spider-Man and come up with a new identity. So it'd be interesting to see. I know there's a lot of people that have wanted, you know, Miles to have his own identity, really. They feel like he's a good enough character to not be stuck as Spider-Man. And the guy at the comic book store actually was talking about where, a lot of people, there hadn't been like a lot of new readers ever to Spider-Man, the Miles Morales Spider-Man. It has a loyal following, so I think if they just came up with a new identity for him, it might be really interesting to see, what could happen. I do really like Miles' suit, though. That's one of my favorite part of his character. So, I don't know. Hopefully they come up with a good suit for him still if they change his identity. This is Iron Fist number 6. I don't know. I read this issue, and it's kind of funny because I liked the first story arc. This is a brand new story arc starting now. The first story arc was Iron Fist in a fighting tournament. So it's pretty much non-stop fighting the whole time, which I liked, especially after having watched the Iron Fist TV show, and I felt like they did not have enough fighting and enough good fighting at all in that. But then this one kind of began right away with like really crazy, he's fighting these like zombie kind of infected, possessed people. And I don't know, hopefully they have a little bit more story. I don't want every issue to just be non-stop fighting. I think it worked really well for the tournament, but like if they're just going to throw tons of enemies at him non-stop, or like, every issue he'll be fighting some new kind of, kung fu master, yeah, I don't think that's super exciting. I want to see a little bit, longer stretched out stories that end in a big fight too. But this one did have Shang-Chi. I think that's how you say it. I guess I've never actually heard it from anyone. But that's a character that I like. I've read different comics with him, especially kind of more recent ones. So yeah, I like seeing him pop up in this. And, I like still all the kung fu stuff. But I don't want this to be just like too much fighting. I feel like they could have maybe heard that, kind of critique from the TV show, and then maybe came out with this, and it is going to be a lot of fighting. But I think there's more story to Iron Fist, more good stories to be told than just fighting ones. Iron Fist also hasn't been very funny in that series so far. I mean, in this issue, he was a little better, more, lighthearted and making jokes while he's fighting. But I liked that part of the Power Man and Iron Fist comic, which I feel like I bring that comic book up almost every episode, but I do love it. This is Extremity number 6. This is the end of the first story arc, so that was exciting. This one was pretty much a lot of fighting. The evil enemy of from Nim, yeah, just Nim. I think it might be Nime, I guess. Once again, I've never heard anyone talk about it, really. I don't feel like a lot of people are probably reading this comic. But at the back of this, they do have like a little cosplay that someone did, so it's kind of cool to see. And I really like this comic a lot. It's kind of fantasy, almost, really big, crazy monsters in it, a lot of fighting, and there's swords and spears and bows and arrows and stuff, plus guns and laser beams and stuff. It's kind of a mix of everything a little bit. There's a robot that's kind of, very, I don't know, the robot seemed almost kind of be like Knight-ish. He was taken out though in the last issue, but hopefully he'll come back, because his body is still kind of floating around, so since he's a robot, it's okay. But yeah, and this issue is kind of a big, is the last one, so Thea, the main character, kind of defies her father in this, her father is the leader of their tribe, or I don't really know how they're divided up, it's people from all different regions, and then Nim went through and conquered everyone, kind of, so now they're trying to fight back against them. But her father is so, driven to get revenge that he is willing to sacrifice everyone, basically. A lot of their warriors get killed, and Thea, while she's off trying to destroy this one ship, sees that her brother has been taken captive by them, so she instead, just rushes in to save him, and their father basically turns on her, gets really upset, starts smacking both the kids around, and so I don't know where this is going to go. At the end, actually, she gets shot down, and so, they'll have to do some kind of crash landing, I'm sure. another part of this is going to come out, so that wasn't just the end. But yeah, I'm really excited to see this pick up again and where it's going to go, because I think they're going to kind of abandon some of this story. You know, they really kind of had a big turn after, you know, their dad kind of attacked them. I don't think they'll be just teaming up with him right away again. So yeah, I'll be excited to see where the second part of this goes. Here's the inside of Extremity number 6. Like I said, it's got this big battle in the beginning. And here's one of those big giant monsters, kind of a praying mantis type monster. They kind of like found a way to unleash these giant monsters, so they should be popping up kind of all throughout this series now. But yeah, I like this big, you know, giant battle between all the soldiers, plus you've got the praying mantis leading the charge. But the shots of, you know, everyone getting kind of slaughtered. I like these shots too of her, you know, up on this, I can't remember what they called this little kind of, you know, speeder flying thing. But it was really, you know, an awesome part. This was a really awesome shot too of her, the main character Thea here, kind of using her, after her hand got cut off, it got replaced with this robotic one, which also is apparently this big giant laser beam. And that was pretty awesome to see. Yeah, there's some really good art. A lot of different, you know, dramatic just shots of people's faces. I think that Skybound puts this out, and they put out Walking Dead, and it's kind of a look for it. But it's a look that I enjoy, definitely. This part at the end was really awesome and brutal. It has this big fight between, you know, one guy and like never-ending soldiers, basically. They just keep coming at him. But yeah, it's really exciting, and I'm really excited to see the second volume of this. And that is it for this week. Thanks everyone for watching. If you enjoyed this, make sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and leave a comment telling me, you know, what comics you read. What comics you think I should be reading then, you know. Tell me if you like any of these comics, and see you next week.